Today, we're diving into Brian Hyman's really powerful book, Recovery with Yoga. And it puts forward this compelling idea. What if the ancient practices of yoga could actually provide a clear, structured path to freedom from addiction? Let's take a look at how.
Right out of the gate, the book makes a pretty huge claim. The foreword says that recovery and yoga aren't just things that go well together, they're literally the same thing. It's all about building an absolutely extraordinary life on the foundation of sobriety.
Okay, so before we can really understand the path to freedom, we have to look at the reality of addiction itself. And the book paints a very stark picture, describing it as a painful, constricting prison.
Think about it this way. Addiction isn't just some bad habit. It's portrayed as this force that wants all of you. It demands your complete devotion, and it'll do absolutely anything to keep you trapped in denial, forever its prey.
And its main weapon, its go-to tool, dishonesty. It uses all this deceit and confusion to twist your thoughts, your words, your actions, everything. You know, it's a deliberate strategy to keep you from finding your own truth, to keep you locked up.
And this is really the core of that prison. It's not just a tough spot to be in. The book calls it a living hell, and its very foundation is built on that cornerstone of dishonesty. And that just creates this suffocating, unbearable darkness.
But here's the thing. Even in a prison like that, a moment of truth can shatter the walls. The author, Brian Hyman, shares this incredibly raw story. He'd been sitting in 12-step meetings, silent, and then something just shifted. And in one terrifying, spontaneous moment, he just spoke his truth for the very first time. And that one single honest statement, that was the key. Tears just filled his eyes because this secret he'd been carrying for decades was finally out. This moment was so much more than a confession. It was the first step out of the prison and onto a completely new path. So, from that very first step of honesty, a new path opens up. And this is what brings us to the book's central idea, this powerful fusion of yogic philosophy with the entire journey of recovery.
So you might be wondering, why yoga specifically? Well, because it gives you the tools for what the book calls full recovery. We're not just talking about stopping a behavior here. It's about finding ease in your own body again, finding some mental quiet, building self-love, and, maybe most importantly, plugging back into the simple joy of being alive. And this is a really, really vital distinction to make. The path we're talking about isn't just about surviving or gritting your teeth through abstinence. It's about thriving. The real goal is to experience the fullest possible version of recovery, which means true freedom and a deep sense of fulfillment in your life.
All right, so how do you actually walk this path? Well, this is where the inner work comes in. The book lays out these essential principles that, when you actually practice them, become the very bedrock of a transformed life.
The starting point for all of it is satya, the yogic principle of truthfulness. And it's so much more than just not telling lies. It's about lining up your thoughts, your words, and your actions. When you get that alignment right, it just calms the chaos in your mind. When you embrace satya, you start to carry yourself with a sense of honor and dependability.
Now, to make this a little more practical, the book offers a tool, the Pavamana mantra. You can think of it like a blueprint for transformation. It's really a simple prayer, asking to be guided from the unreality of addiction to the truth of recovery, from the darkness of despair to the light of knowledge, and from a kind of living death to a timeless freedom.
Next up is acceptance. And this can be a tricky one, because it's not about liking or approving of your situation, not at all. It's more of a neutral evaluation of what is. By simply seeing reality for what it is, without fighting it, you create the space you need to move toward a solution. This quote just perfectly captures the essence of the next step, surrender. It's that powerful moment when you admit that your own plans, your own resources, they just aren't enough. It means recognizing your own limits and being willing to ask for and accept help from somewhere or something greater than yourself. So when you combine that radical honesty, that clear-eyed acceptance, and that willing surrender, the outcome is, well, it's profound. And this is where the book shifts to show us what this new transformed life actually looks and feels like.
I mean, the transformation is just night and day. You go from a life that's constrictive and suffocating to one that's expansive and open. It's a move from the painful prison of dishonesty to the boundless potential of an honest life. From total darkness into the light of hope. It's not just a small change, it's a complete revolution of your entire being.
And what are the rewards for all this hard work?
Well, it goes way beyond just sobriety. It's about finally feeling present in your own life. It's about taking all that passion that once fueled addiction and giving it a new job as your life's purpose. It's about finding wholeness, a true connection with the community, and the incredible freedom of just being yourself.
Ultimately, when you boil it all down, it all comes back to this one thing: honesty, satya. That's the core principle that unlocks everything else. It really is the ticket that unshackles you from addiction and lets you step into a purposeful, free, and meaningful life.
And so we end on this question, which really shifts the focus in a beautiful way. It goes from a personal struggle to a shared purpose. Because once you find this path, your journey isn't just for you anymore, is it? It becomes a kind of beacon, a message of hope for people who are still trying to find their own way. So the question to leave with is, how can your truth become someone else's inspiration?